Okay, I thought we would go ahead and get started. Thank you all for being here. Do appreciate it very much. We're going to continue these. We've got, Jerry, where's the next one at? Okay, next one will be at Mackay's, and then the Street Side Cafe across from the university. So Mackay's next, and then Street Side. And again, I want to thank Pete for opening up early here at Jersey's. If you haven't had lunch here, it's terrific. I would suggest you come here for lunch. Just a couple things I want to start with. First of all, thankfully, the election is over, so we can now get back to doing the business at hand. And one of those things, and I just kind of want to go through what it is and why we're doing it, is you may have seen in the paper where we have issued what we call an RFI, a request for information. And this request for information is regarding our sewer project, and it's going out across the nation. And what we're looking for is ideas from the private sector as to how we might best deal with the $280-some million of debt that we have regarding this sewer project. So you might ask, well, why are you now going out to the private sector? Well, over the last year and a half, as we've all been talking about, we have been trying to find a government agency solution primarily through the Water Infrastructure Finance Authority, better known as WIFA. And while we have some minor concessions from them, they are just not enough. Clearly not enough. It might help us hold off rate increases for a few years, but that just really isn't what we were looking for. They were unwilling to restructure or refinance our debt because they said they just don't do things like that. But lo and behold, just a week ago they announced that they are restructuring $380 million of their own debt to take advantage of better interest rates. But yet they would not do that for us. So we had pretty much had it up to here, and we had been hearing about that there are possible private sector solutions. So we put out this request for information, and the good news is we are getting a lot of responses on this. What we really believe is that it's probably going to be some sort of public-private partnership that will ultimately be the answer. There are a lot of Wall Street firms interested in dealing with our debt. We don't know ultimately what that solution is, but what we do know is that a government agency solution is just not there. And why not, instead of saying we give up, let's find out what the private marketplace can provide to us. Like I said, we are getting a tremendous amount of interest. Lots of phone calls. Firms such as my old firm, Ernst & Young, KPMG, Goldman Sachs, Guggenheim, Morgan Stanley, you name it, they're out there, they're interested in trying to find a solution. So what we will do is we're going to take all of this information, and then we're going to probably interview what we believe are the top 2 or 3 ideas, interview those firms, and then try to negotiate from there. And one other thing that we did about the request, we didn't just say the wastewater division. We said if you feel that you would have a better solution by combining our wastewater and our water division, we're open to that discussion. Because one of the things that it said way back in the pamphlet, years ago, and people had forgotten about it, is that to help pay for our sewer project, we can use water revenues, the water division revenues. And that's kind of been kept separate for all these years. but it is available to us, and so that may be one of the solutions. So we're hopeful. They are supposed to, is it September 19th? Okay, I think it closes, it's either questions that they have for us close on the 19th, and the all requests or proposals, if you will, close on the 26th, and then we hope within 30 days after that we will begin negotiating with somebody for a solution. Now, the other thing we will do, though, is that I have a feeling these solutions will be rather complicated. They will impact the community, and so we will have public hearings to make sure people understand where we're headed and whether or not there's buy-in from the community. So again, we're hopeful, but we gave these people one goal. We want a reduction in our rates. That was our goal. We didn't say, well, we'd like to see a lower interest rate, or we didn't say we'd like to see privatization or any of that. We said we have one goal: lower rates. You come up with the solutions, because we didn't want to be providing possible solutions. We want it to go the other way around. So I can't wait until September 26th, quite frankly, because I really am very hopeful that this is going to make a huge difference in our community. One of the things that we're trying to do is, our rates are probably the second highest in the state, is what I understand. And but interestingly enough, the state's catching up to us. Well, if we can delay rate increases or lower rates, eventually the rest of the state will catch up to us, and that's what we'd like to really see, so that our community's kind of on a level footing with other communities. Many of you know Bullhead City had to put in about $180 million of infrastructure. They have a flat rate, I want to say, of about $38 a month. But the difference is they also have semi-annual payments on the $13,000 hookups that they had to go through. So either way, you're looking at real money. There is no magic solution. They are undergoing their hydrology studies right now and some other engineering studies. They just got back an economic impact report of having a motorsports facility here in Havasu. It would generate, and this is without the ancillary businesses, about 176 jobs, which is pretty significant, and create annual revenue of over $10 million, which is also very, very significant. And again, that's without the ancillary businesses, where I really think we're going to have the best bang for the buck. One of the things we want to focus on in the next several years is really just workforce development. One of the things I wanted to mention to you, we had a company here called Creative Tent, pretty large employer, and they decided to move to Nevada. And we did just about everything we could think of to keep them here. They said they needed room to expand. We found them some land. We can't give it to them because it's against Arizona law, but we found them some land, and they bought it, and so we were hopeful. And we tried to do just about everything we could. Interestingly enough, they decided to leave, and they said it was primarily tax reasons, because Nevada does not have income tax. As a CPA, I'm not really sure that was, I don't really see how that pencils out considering the moving costs, but be that as it may, the real reason when they went to Nevada and they were interviewed was Lake Havasu City did not have the necessary workforce, which was very telling. They said they could not find people qualified to work in their shop, enough people qualified, And so that's really the primary reason, and we've got to do something about that. If we're going to attract more business, we have to have a workforce that is ready, willing, and able to go regardless of what that job is. So I'm gonna try to work with, I've already talked to MCC about putting together some sort of internship program with businesses and with the City Hall as well. And we're going to continue to work with ASU, the high school, wherever. JTED, we're excited there because JTED's going to open up a culinary institute here in Lake Havasu City. For those of you, it's the old Skybox restaurant down next to Golden Corral. That is no longer going to be a restaurant. That was purchased by JTED, and they're going to have a culinary institute there. So that's, quite frankly, that's needed in our city. So anything we can do to continue training. When talking to our Parks and Rec, we have that, as Charlie said, the after-school program. So we have these kids for 3 or 4 hours a day, and when I talked to Parks and Rec, and then I brought it up during budget sessions with the City Council, I said, instead of just babysitting these kids, if we have them for 3 or 4 hours a day, let's teach them something. And that's pretty much what this enrichment program is all about. We've got them here, let's teach them something. It is purely voluntary. We're going to have tutors for those kids who are maybe a little bit behind. But I really believe that if we don't start at a very early age, we'll never have a qualified workforce. We've got to do something. And it's very difficult because it's a chicken and egg. Companies, you try to attract a company and they say, what's your workforce like? Well, it needs development. Well, I'm not interested. Then you find qualified workers and they go, well, what companies do you have? Well, we don't have anybody because they don't want to come because there's not the workforce. So, you have to start somewhere, and we're just going to continue to focus on a qualified workforce. And then again, I think that the companies will be here in short order, and the university is going to be helpful with that. That's pretty much the intro I had, and so now I want to just open it up for discussion and questions. Yeah, the good news is when I talked to the mall manager, they're getting lots of inquiries and more new stores. So that's a real plus. And I know they've got a few that are quote unquote on the hook and ready to pull the trigger, but it's one of those catch-22s. They'll say, as soon as you get to, I don't know what it is, 65% occupancy, we're interested. Well, that's kind of how do you get to 65% occupancy if everybody says, as soon as you get to 65%, we're interested? So they're doing their best, but they do have quite a few people or stores that are in that situation where they're just waiting for the occupancy to go up. I know that it's been kind of a tough road for them. The good news is Lake Havasu City still has a mall. So many communities lost their malls. They closed them up. They're now office space or something else. Ours stayed open, changed hands, but they're very committed at this point, and things are looking up. Other questions? Boy, this is going to be an easy morning. The what's that? The 280 project. Yeah, we met with all the stakeholders at a very large meeting at City Hall, and it's still a go. We're still very interested in moving forward. State Representative Sonny Borelli was there. Parks were there. Their engineers were there. A lot of our folks were there. So the executive, or not executive director, the chairman of the board of state parks was there. and has indicated that this is one of the more important projects for them. Right now, it's just a matter of our engineers are working with their engineers to determine the best site for the launch ramp. And once that's determined, we're going to start forging ahead. So again, that's a project that will spur a private enterprise project for new homes and new commercial. And for goodness sakes, we've been wanting for 20 years, we've been wanting a mainland launch ramp. And I think this is our best opportunity to finally get it. We still have interest from a nonprofit organization to do a Phoenix-style botanical garden as well down in that area. So, yeah, we put $1 million in the budget to get that project started. So, but as I've said before, just because the money's there, we don't want to build a road to nowhere. That would not be good. That would not be good. So we have to know the state parks is really going to locate a launch ramp there before we start moving dirt, because otherwise it just looks silly. Other questions?
I live off Saratoga, and a few months ago they put this pole up that has a solar power.
There's several things I want to really try to get accomplished. Of course, I want to see expansion of ASU, and working with MCC on the workforce. We talked about that earlier. I really want to see the motorsports facility happen. I think we're going to know within the next 12 months. They are working diligently on the hydrology engineering report. I would like to, we're still pushing to get the English Village redeveloped, and we're going to continue to push on that as hard as we can. One of the things I've talked to Charlie about, and it's probably going to be in, I'd like to talk to council about getting it in more in the budget next year, and that's, it's not a sexy item, but it's needed, and that's roads. We have roads that need improvement. They've become in the condition they are because the state of Arizona has swept all that money for the last umpteen years to balance their own budget, and to leave cities and towns in the middle of a tough economy to make that money up, and that's pretty tough to do. But as I mentioned to Charlie, you know what? Even though it's our money and they've taken it away from us, fighting to get it back has not been particularly effective. So we just have to plan on not getting any money. And so we're going to have to just redesign our budgets to deal with it. Because there's a point where your roads, if you don't start fixing and improving, then it costs you even more money to deal with it. So I want to try to put something there. We did get, of the $120 million that they typically sweep every year, we got $30 million of it last year. Not for us, $30 million for the state, all counties and cities. Our share is probably $500,000, maybe, if that, maybe 300,000, and that doesn't go very far in fixing a road. So our state representatives have worked very hard to try to get that money back to us. And it is your money because it's Highway User Revenue Funds, HERF, and it's gas tax money that's supposed to come back here. But the state is going to be looking at about $1 billion structural deficit coming up. They have $300 million that the Arizona Supreme Court has indicated they owe to the schools. Plus they're going to have a structural deficit of about another $700 million. So we're looking at about $1 billion. So I can't count on them giving us back our HERF money. It's just not going to happen. Obviously the launch ramp I really want to see occur. I'm trying to think of, I have a bucket list, believe it or not, on my desk. It's very long. I got a lot of check marks on many of them. Some of them I don't. And those are the ones that I want to work on. But really, now that we have a little bit of money, I want to work on quality of life projects, and the overriding thing, of course, is the sewer project. But as I mentioned earlier, I really believe that we're going to find a private marketplace solution to that. Other thing that we're working very hard on is with the Main Street Association is creating a revitalization zone to help advance the downtown area. They basically, what they're looking at right now is the people in this downtown area creating their own tax district where they all put money into that district and then use that money to improve the street in its entirety. And we're very encouraged by that. We're very supportive of that because we believe that that could really help move the downtown area forward. In my view, a downtown is vitally important. If you lose your downtown, you really lose the spirit of a city, because downtown's always the gathering places. So we're hopeful for that. And one other thing that we are going to be doing in relatively short order is I guess what I would call a ball field, soccer fields needs assessment, so that we can figure out what we need to bring tournaments here, large scale soccer and or softball or baseball tournament, little league tournaments. It has become very popular for teams to travel, and it's very lucrative for a city. I was just talking to Supervisor Moss about they just had, I think it was a soccer tournament in Bullhead City, and it filled 500 rooms. We have the first graduation of our Veterans Court is going to be Friday, September 12th at 1 o'clock. We're very proud of our Veterans Court. It's one of the few rural Veterans Courts in the United States. It has been incredibly successful, and so I'm going to make sure I'm there for that very first graduation. We really want to see that occur. What was the other thing you wanted me to talk about? Oh, the Tri-City. Yeah, we almost have two new mayors. We have one in Kingman. His name's Richard Anderson, Dick Anderson. He will be the new mayor of Kingman. And in Bullhead City, they're having a runoff between Tom Brady and Rodney Head. Rodney used to be the chief of police in Bullhead City. So we are, Jack Haycom, who was the prior mayor in Bullhead, decided not to run again. He said he wanted to spend time with his family. And he was very instrumental in moving forward the Tri-City Council. So right now, with Dick Anderson, who has been working on the Tri-City Council, myself, and then whoever the new mayor of Bullhead, that entity will continue. It's for us, it's very, very important. It's given all of you a voice in Phoenix. We have been recognized across the state as the way things should get done when you're in rural areas and trying to put people together. In fact, there's another organization that I chaired last year called the Greater Arizona Mayors Association that was patterned after the Tri-City Council because they saw how effective it was. And so we try to do things together, including saving money. We combined our employee benefit trust, all three cities save money. So with the two new mayors, I don't see the Tri-City Council falling apart. It will continue because anybody that's been on the council before, like Dick Anderson, has seen the value of the Tri-City Council. It's, you know, and I know I've said this before, but when it comes to the Tri-City Council, when we first formed it about 7 years ago, it was hard to get anybody to even come pay attention to us and speak and talk about what's going on in the state and whatnot. Now they call us and ask to get on the calendar, and we usually don't have enough room on our agenda to get them on, so we pretty much have a waiting list to do that. So we're I know just 2 years ago at the League of Cities and Towns conference, even the new mayor of Phoenix, Greg Stanton, recognized the Tri-City Council again as a way to give your citizens a stronger voice when you're in rural Arizona. And that's what that's done. I mean, when we're here 53,000 in Lake Havasu City, but when we have a Tri-City Council and you've got you've got 60% of the entire county represented by those 3 cities, it makes a big difference when you're down in the Phoenix area. I think one other thing that I think is going to help us to some degree, as many of you know, I've been on the executive committee for the League of Arizona Cities and Towns for about 6 years now. It is a group that represents all cities and towns across Arizona, and making sure that our local control is not taken away from us by state laws and whatnot. It also, we work very hard to preserve what's known as state shared revenue, which is critically important to all of you. Come on in. And in August, I was elected to the treasurer of that organization, so it's one of 3 officer positions. And what does that mean? What that means, for me, not a whole lot of change, because it seemed like whenever something came up, it was always money related, so I got the call anyway. But what it means is that whenever there is very difficult legislation or harmful legislation to cities and towns, I will be representing pretty much the rural areas to make sure that whether it be the state legislature or the governor understands the impact of any law they're trying to pass. So I'm very honored to be in that position. I think it's the first time Lake Havasu City's ever had an officer in that league. So I'm very proud to be there. But as I said, it won't mean a whole lot of difference for me, because a lot of the things the state wants to do has to do with a change in our sales tax or some sort of financial difference. And so I usually, being one of the few CPAs at the league, I'm usually the guy that got the call and said, tell us what this means to us. So, but again, I'm very happy and proud to serve on that as an officer. Well, I guess we're done early. Thank you all very much for coming. I do appreciate it. Absolutely. Thank you.
Great job.
Thanks. Bet.